Hi, neighbors, and welcome back to the 005. First, I want to start off by saying thank you so much for the support. It has just been really fun hearing from a lot of you, whether it's been messages online, I've seen a lot of you in person, and the feedback has been really awesome. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you following us. So thank you. We also have some really great things planned for the summer, additional episodes that we're excited about, but also we have fun content, events that we want to announce to you guys, and some features that we're working on that will be on our social media. So make sure you don't miss that on our Instagram and Facebook page as well. Okay, now for our new episode. I'm really excited to share my chat with our police chief, Gary Ratliff. He came to West U's police department after almost 40 years in League City, and we're really blessed to have him. He's a great guy. He's got lots of great stories to tell. I got to know him when I was going through the Citizens Police Academy earlier this year, which is an amazing program that he actually brought from his days in League City. It's one of his passion projects. So in our discussion, we talk about virtual gate, e-bikes, plans for the future in the department, and he also shares some really valuable advice on how we can protect our homes and our families. So having our very own police department here in West U is really beneficial to all of us and to our city, and I hope you enjoy getting to know a little bit more about that. And without further ado, here is Chief Ratliff. Oh my goodness. I have Chief Ratliff in my house. Which is very exciting. So I had the pleasure of meeting you when I joined the Citizens Police Academy this year. And the first night that we had our classes, you came and spoke with us. There was about 11 of us in our group. And I just came home that night and told my husband, oh my goodness, what a cool guy. What a great story. So I'm just thankful for you for coming today.
Appreciate it.
So you joined West UPD in 2024, but officially became chief in 2025.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to West U.
I started police work in 1985, and it was not my plan. I was supposed to be a fireman, and I was in the volunteer fire department for about 3 years.
Okay.
And about that time in '85, Houston was going through a recession, and Kathy Whitmire was the mayor. I started with League City.
Wow.
I worked patrol for from '85 to December of '87, and had the opportunity to go into criminal investigations as a detective. Served there until December of '90, when I got promoted to sergeant. And so served there until '95, had the opportunity to laterally transfer back into criminal investigations division as a sergeant. So I dropped fatality call out, and I dropped the SWAT side of it. And then I was basically responsible from '95 to 2000, pretty much doing all the major case assignments. I was a public information officer for the PD. I was in charge of internal affairs. And so all the major case stuff came through me in that regard. And then we had some title changes, so I became a lieutenant in, I guess it was '99. And then in 2000, I tested for captain and was promoted to captain. And I was captain from 2000 to 2006. And then at the end of 2006, I was appointed to assistant chief.
Gosh.
And so I served as assistant chief for 11 years and under 4 different chiefs until January of 2018. And was appointed a chief in 2018, where I served during some tough times. By the time that I had gotten to 23, I guess, I had just reached a point in time that I was fatigued. I had literally been on call since the first time I went into criminal investigations division, since December of '87 till that time. And it wasn't something, my guys were a little upset with me because I couldn't stick it out any longer. So I retired, and I was good for a couple of months.
This is the part of the story that I think is pretty good.
Well, it was, honestly, I mean, I was losing my mind because I went from having a purpose and having a plan to nothing. I mean, I went from 150 emails a day and 30 phone calls to
Whoa.
zero.
Yes.
And so, I told my wife, my wife's my best friend. And so I told her, I said, look, I enjoy being off and everything, but I got to go back to work.
Gotta go back.
And so it just so happened. It's just timing. It's like I told them when I interviewed here. I said, and they asked why West U, and I said honestly, I'm not going to say it's because it was West U. It's timing. When somebody's applying for a chief position, it's all about, one, are you available at that point in time, and two is, do you think it's a fit? And
Yes.
so that's kind of how it came to be.
Well, that was our lucky timing. It
Well, I appreciate
was.
that.
Yes, of course. We're so glad to have you. And you were filling in for, remind me, the tenure of the chief before you came along. Wasn't it years and
Chief
years?
Walker had, I don't know, 2002, 2003
Okay.
or so. He had been here 22 years, I believe, as
Yes.
chief. And, his retirement was effective the first part of February of 25.
I believe having our own police department makes Westview special. But Westview, as you know, is right smack in the center of, I think, the third largest city is what we are right now. How do you think that makes this community a little bit different because we are so close to the center of town?
That would require me to speculate a little bit.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things. So let's touch base a little bit back on the hiring side first. The difference in small agencies and larger agencies, typically there are two things that differentiate the two. This is where prospective officers, applicants look at, Some people that would live here would say, man, I think, anybody would want to work in West U. The problem is typically twofold. One of which is most small departments have funding issues. That's not necessarily the case here. And I say it in that way is because this is a very competitive area, very competitive field. As the pay scales for Houston PD as just negotiated recently, and Harris County Sheriff's Department and all the other Harris County units have just been negotiated recently. As those things change, we have to be competitive to be able to retain our employees, number one. But the second thing that it really truly is an impact for smaller agencies is that a lot of times when young officers that are coming out that want to go to work, they want to be canine officers, they want to be SWAT officers, they want to be homicide investigators, they want to do traffic unit stuff. Those kind of things typically are not available. And so that's where some of that challenge becomes. As far as differences with League City, we were roughly, close to 125,000 when I left. And we covered 58 square miles. So here you have 2 square miles and 15,000 people, which is extremely dense population ratio.
It sure is.
And the thing that I've been asked by individuals that used to work for me that said, well, how is it? And I said, it's fast paced. And that seems odd talking about a small town that it's fast paced. But for instance, we will have a burglary of a motor vehicle, say, take place on a Thursday, just for instance. Capture the information on virtual gate, get a plate of the suspect vehicle. We put it in the hot list that's in the back end of virtual gate. And before detectives have even had a chance to work the case, the suspect vehicle is back on Monday going through, and we get a hit on virtual gate and get them stopped. And so that's kind of, it's really, as far as that goes, it can be extremely fast paced.
What are some of the, you touched upon burglary of a motor vehicle. We've seen that recently with a guy on a bicycle that was coming through.
It is everywhere. It's not just West U, it's everywhere. Here, though, the thing that I would say, and every time I talk with somebody is that, you know, people leave their vehicles unlocked and unsecured. Sometimes they will say, well, I don't want my window broken, or I don't want this or that. A lot of these burglary suspects, when they come through, a lot of times, not always, they will check for open handles, and if they're locked, then they'll move on. The guy that you mentioned recently was on a bicycle, and he created a lot of havoc for us for about 3 days. And we finally got him on the third day, I think, after he had hit over 30 different cars. And this guy had stolen the bike he was on. He was riding through, and when we caught him on camera on some of the places, some of the cars that he was breaking the windows out of, he wasn't even going into. He'd just break them and move on to the next one.
What a mess.
Yeah. So when we eventually got him, and the guys were talking to him, he said, yeah, I'm a criminal. What do you expect? And, but he said, I'm not telling you anything. And it's like, yeah, okay. So, that's that kind of thing. Property crimes are definitely the most problematic for any department. And, like and stolen cars. I mean, last year, as I probably mentioned to y'all in class, we had 6 stolen vehicles through the first part of last year. 4 of the 6, the people left the cars unlocked with the keys in the console.
Wow.
And, and so, yeah, I mean, I just, our message, as it was at the town hall in February, is that you need to target harden your home. You need to target harden your vehicles, meaning that you keep them locked, keep them secured.
Yes.
If you can, put them behind gates or put them behind garage doors. If you can. Not everybody can do that. I can't do that because I got too many other things in my garage. But if you can, do everything you can to make it like that. As we stated in the town hall meeting, when target hardening in your home can be extensive. I mean, that goes from locks to camera systems to all of those types of things. But don't make it easy for them.
Right.
I mean, because that's it's just one of those issues that you got to deal with.
So we just have to know they're out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and there are always going to be those individuals out there.
Thankfully,
Yeah.
it has been quiet. So you mentioned a little bit about the property theft. There was also a little stint where, people were coming in through second floor entries using ladders. So again, just a reminder to people to put those things away if you're living near a construction zone, to make sure that there's not things left lying around that a criminal might be able to use against you.
Yeah, the thing about that is that was a very unusual situation. This is my 40th year in law enforcement, and during the time that I was down south, we probably had, I could count on one hand the number of nighttime burglaries that we had happen. One hand in 38 years.
Wow.
Here, we had a number of them in 12 months.
Yeah.
And so it's not normal. Burglaries typically happen during the day for homes because they do not want to come in contact with people. So they're going to hit while you're at work. So that's unusual.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit earlier about virtual gate. So it's been 4 years, and we are a virtually gated community. If someone just walked up and said, Chief, what is a virtual gate? How would you explain it to them?
It is a geofencing of the city with license plate readers and 24/7 pan tilt zoom cameras. And so
Very high tech.
it is, we use it every day without fail. I think that when it was first brought in, like in every community that goes to a license plate reader system, people, the first thing that they think is a big brother and this, that, and the other along the lines of how's the agency going to use it and how's this going to happen. It is a tool that we use for criminal investigations, period.
Yes.
You know, could right now we have in the geofence around the city, literally just from the months of January to the end of March, we had 23 million hits. And or no, 23 million reads, 23 million license
Reads
plate
of a
reads.
license plate.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so people think that that's just, and you know, all of those reads, when you have it on the geofence like that on the outside edges, that means that every camera that's doing a license plate read, which means that if they're going down a roadway that's lined with those cameras, they're getting hit on every cameras they're going
right.
through. So it's not like there's 23 million cars that
Right.
that went in 3 months. But so there's a lot of activity that goes on with that.
Right.
And you know, it's a very a lot of people think or thought, I guess, that when it went in, that man, this is automatic, and that we should be pushing, you know, zero crime, you know, now that we have this. Yeah, not so much. I mean, it is a tool. That's what it is.
It's a tool.
nothing more than that.
Right.
It helps the detectives. It helps the officers. It helps us that when we get a vehicle that has warrants on them, or a stolen vehicle, or a stolen plate, or a missing persons, or any of those things, it sends a notice through our dispatch to our officers to be looking for that vehicle
Right.
to create a stop. It is ideal. Very, very few cities are able to geofence the way we have here. Very few cities have the benefit of pan tilt zoom cameras around. It is a very much of a blessing for not just for the agency, but for the citizens as a whole. Some people had the opinion originally that with and this is everywhere, it's not just West U,
Okay.
that if you have this, that it's a force multiplier and you should be able to reduce the number of staff that you need. Well, it's just the opposite. Because you have to have staff to respond to the hits when they occur.
Yes.
And so you really literally have to bolster your team. Otherwise, if you don't, I mean, there's going to be a lot of those hits that you're not able to
Follow up on.
even find or stop. But yeah, it's a great system to have.
Yes. And I was lucky enough to tour the dispatch room, which is right here in the middle of our city, and to see all of the camera angles and the monitors that are up there. I mean, talking about staff, obviously somebody's got to be looking at that.
Right.
And it's just very impressive, in my opinion. I imagine having the virtual gate has allowed you guys to catch criminals.
Yeah. There's been a number of cases over time, you know, where we've been able to, you know, not only actually make the stops off of the hits, but there was a couple of cases that were, you know, just kind of highlighted situations where a lady was with her, I think it was her housekeeper, and they were followed home from the airport, I believe, and they were robbed, and her vehicle was stolen, and they took her wedding ring, which she had from her deceased husband that had given it to her. And through that system, they were able to track pretty quickly the stolen vehicle as well as the suspect vehicle, because after it left, we were able to track it out of West U, and then they were able to pick it up through the flock camera system, which is what the majority of cities have.
Okay.
And they were able to track it because typically when you have a suspect vehicle and a stolen vehicle, the one's tracking the other. And so they were able to identify the second vehicle, develop a suspect, put that in the system.
Wow.
And he ended up getting stopped later. He was identified. And ultimately, we found his co-conspirator. and they tracked him down through another city, tracked the jewelry that was taken and
My
recovered it.
goodness. So talking about security and trying to keep ourselves safe, and there's definitely things that we can be doing and things that people probably aren't always thinking about. But if someone was moving into Westview today and said, okay, Chief, what are 2 or 3 things that I'm moving into this house? What do you recommend?
Okay, so
Yeah, tell me.
the first question is, are we talking about before they buy the house? Or are we talking
Oh,
about after they bought the house?
I guess we could talk about both.
Okay, before you buy the house,
Okay.
anybody that's looking to buy a home, do an open records request to the police department for a 2-block radius around that home. If you have repeated calls for service that have happened to one of those residences within that block, that means you got an issue. That means you got a neighbor that's either going to be a problem for you when you move in, or there is a reason, whether there's kids there that are causing that, whether it's the person that lived there that's causing that, or what. And there is nothing worse than having a bad neighbor, because you've just spent money on your biggest investment in your life, and now you've moved in next to a problem child who creates issues for you that can make your life miserable. So first, check your perimeter. Once you've decided that you've committed on buying this house, when you're looking at the house, the things that you need to think about are the locking system. Simply put, the locking system. Whether or not your entry areas to your home are blocked with trees and shrubs and things that are going to block that. You need to consider, if you don't have it, a camera system, and that camera system and your alarm system, where that's hooked up at and where you're looking at. And so those are some of the basic things
Those
that I
are
would tell
great.
you, because it's all of those things, making sure your perimeters are secure in your backyards and around your areas. Those are things that are important to consider when you're looking at that.
Absolutely. Those are great things to mention. So another big hot topic right now, and it's not just Westview, it's everywhere, but these e-bikes that these kids are showing up with. I hope there's not any particular incidents that I just haven't heard about in Westview specifically, but I am hearing accidents happening, in the city of Houston and other cities where the kid wasn't wearing a helmet. They were driving too fast. They're on the street instead of the sidewalk. What are you seeing, and what do we need to be aware of?
Well, it is a hot topic. We've had one major accident with one several months back, where a young man was coming out of a alley. I think it was around Weir, and
Okay.
he failed to yield the right of way, wasn't paying attention, and a car going the normal speed, really slower, in that area, and he came out and he broadsided that car, and it laid him open across his thigh. He had to be transported,
Oh
and
no.
so it was significant.
Yes.
You know, they are an issue right now. The council's
Having meetings about it.
struggling with that process. There is you know, any elected body wants to create a balance that one side is concerned the safety, and the second side is not over regulating.
Right.
And you have people that sit on both sides of that. And it becomes an issue where, and even in cities that have made the typical ordinance changes every day, it's an issue. We have, in one of the meetings, a citizen got me in the hallway afterwards and said, "Look, I don't understand." I said, "What?" She said, "If golf carts are illegal in Westview now, how come you're not stopping them and doing that?" And I said, honestly, and I don't want to, this isn't being flippant, but it hasn't been a priority. And nobody is calling in complaints about golf carts that are riding on the streets. Are they illegal? Yes, they are illegal. But right now, with typically running a sergeant and 2 on the streets, We have other things that we have to prioritize in a day: calls for service, emergency calls, different things along those lines. And so, yeah, that's not particularly something that hits the front burner. Do officers really like stopping kids on bike? No.
No.
Do they like stopping people in golf carts? No.
Right.
And who becomes the bad guy when that happens? The police. And it's like, you stop a 12-year-old on an e-bike, and you end up having to take him home, and the parents, or their response,
Why did
which
you?
understandably, don't you have something better to do than to pick this
course.
12-year-old criminal up off the streets on an e-bike? Yeah, I understand. And it's the same thing with golf carts. I'll get calls from people or emails, and they will say, "I want you to put a speed trap." I don't do speed traps. And they're like, "Why not?" I said, "Well, because I would rather have voluntary compliance as opposed to issuing citations to the folks we have to stop. So if you complain about speeding in an area that is not one of our commonly known, like Buffalo Speedway, we're going to do a traffic study. We're going to determine if, in fact, there is a speeding problem over the 85th percentile. And if there is, we're going to determine what time of the day that is or night. And we're going to deploy our forces in those times, in those locations.
Yes.
But before we do that, we're going to post on social media that, hey, just to let you know, we're fixing to do this traffic deployment. So we want you to know, next week we're going to do this, and this is the deal.
Right.
And, the problem with Buffalo Speedway is that you have, I don't know, thousands and thousands of vehicles a day that go through that area. And it's like they say, well, we want you to do the speed enforcement out there. I said, I can, but you need to understand this is a maintenance problem. I said, what do you mean a maintenance problem? Well, you got an area that's atmospherically set up for people to speed. Straight shots going through. They're traveling. They're traversing the city that don't even live here. Some of them do, but and environmentally, there's nothing to stop and control that. And so when we go out there to work traffic enforcement, let's just pick an hour out of a 24-hour day. So those folks that pass through during that hour time frame see us. We may have an impact on them briefly, but the other ones, the other 23 hours out of the day, have no clue that we were even there or that there is enforcement in that area.
Right.
And so we really don't have just the police presence alone, which, unless I had somebody there 24/7, it's just impossible. Those are impractical ideas of how we can approach that.
So from your point of view, what does having our own police department mean for residents, just compared to the adjacent areas that we have around us?
Well, first off, when you have your own department, there's ownership in the agency and the officers that are working here. Although they don't live here, they know that their responsibility is to protect and serve. As we mentioned earlier, River Oaks just down the road, they don't have their own police department. They hire private security to work that. But it's different. It's not the same. Here you have the same employees, the same officers that are working day in and day out. And, I'm big on teamwork, and I'm big on establishing that environment within our agency to be, team members and part of our family that works with that. And so that's where that is different.
Yes.
It makes it more of a, we're part of the community that we serve, and we try to be engaged as much as possible, similar to the Citizen Police Academy.
Absolutely. And having our own 911 dispatch system here too, obviously gives us greater response times. That's impressive. And then community involvement wise, Officer Katie Wilson. She really runs the communication between the department and the community and does a great job at that. And you guys also are at community events all the time and really try to make your presence known. And, it gives the neighborhood a comfort to know that you're there and you're approachable and they can come ask questions. Wasn't there an event recently called the Coffee with Cops?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just a great idea.
Well, I mean, look, as I said in the Citizen Police Academy, a police department anywhere, in any city, they cannot be successful without direct engagement with the citizens that they serve. Because really, honestly, the citizens are our first line of defense. They are our best witnesses. They are those that, and as long as we have a good working relationship to where they trust us to the point to provide that service, it makes for a good team. But make no mistake, without that, a police department's only as good as the citizens they serve, really, honestly.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes, I understand that. And then also in Westview, we have so many special services related to the police department that I don't know that everyone's even aware of. And just to name a couple, Westview Ready, which is our emergency notification system, which I thought I was signed up for and then checked yesterday and I was not. So I am now. Direct Link, which is amazing, which links your alarm system directly with the Westview Police Department, which also creates faster response times. The weekly crime report, you don't get that automatically. You have to sign up to receive those emails, and that comes out every Friday. Westview Police Department also has their own Facebook page, which you guys are great at posting officer and action reports. So if something's going on in the community, ride-alongs are available to residents, which we were lucky enough to do when we were in the police academy and learned a lot in terms of what was going on through that. And then the police academy, which is really great. And obviously I enjoyed that. I hear there's going to be one for teens in the summer.
Yeah, there should be one in the next month or so.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
in the next month or so. So they'll have a week-long class, and it'll be daily for, I don't know, I think the last I heard it was like 4 hours a day.
I love that.
And it's a little bit different than the Citizen Police Academy because you need to focus on things that are going to keep the attention of them and what's important to them.
Yes.
So there's a lot with that comes with that. So we try to continue with that process as best we can, and as new programs come along that may work better here in Westview and we haven't tried before, then we'll work on those things as well.
Okay. Well, there's already a lot available. So I just encourage people to learn more about what you guys have to offer the community. I do think people would be interested to know, because I didn't know myself until I went through the academy, that we actually do have our own jail.
We do.
We have our own jail.
So police departments, they're municipal police departments, most of them, even the small departments, have their own what's considered a holding facility.
Okay.
And so once they get arrested, it is a place to hold them until, if they are county charges, that they are transferred to JPC here in Harris County, or if they're warrants outstanding from another agency, for them to arrange to pick up. And if they're municipal warrants, then they're Class C offenses, which means that they will stay in there until they post their bond, pay their fine, or see the judge.
Got it. Okay. Well, it's a
temporary holding facility.
And you guys recently changed the design of the vehicles that you're
did.
driving? Yes.
We did. When I came in, within the first month that I started as chief, I met with every individual employee, and then with them as a group. And there were priorities, basically, that I considered more important than others. One of those was the cars. And people had said, officers had said, can we change the design of the cars? Honestly, that was not a priority.
Sure.
I said, okay, I got it. But that's not on the top 10 list right now. So we were going into, I don't know, I guess August, September, and I discovered that in the budget we had two vehicles that were fixing to be replaced,
Oh,
and we had a vehicle that was totaled in an accident in mid-year.
okay.
So at the time we only had 8 patrol vehicles anyway, and so 2 of them are going to be replaced. One of them's been totaled. We only have 5 left, and so I started looking to see at the time, because I had done so many changes and so many different things that, I was kind of creating, I think, a stress level in the department because,
Oh my goodness.
a lot of change. People say yeah, we want to do this, we want to do that. And I told them, I said, look, if we get to too much,
Yes.
you're going to be overwhelmed, and I'm going to start to see an anxiety in what we're dealing with. And I started seeing that about August of last year.
Okay.
So I started backing off a little bit, and by September or so, the decision to look at the changing the design of the cars came up. And so I sent out an email to everyone asking them, look, if you're interested, this is an option. I just
Now's
need
the time.
a yay or nay on whether or not you feel like that this is something that you'd like to consider. And it is probably the only time in my career that I had 100% say,
Wow.
absolutely.
Okay.
Some of the officers' responses on why they wanted to do the change was because and I never realized it before, that the patrol cars look just like public works vehicles. And so you have to understand, when these officers are professional, dedicated, and they get mistaken for public works vehicles, or people from outside the city think that we work for a university,
Got
a
it.
school, police department. And so those things, neither of those things go over well with the officers.
It looks great.
And so we took our existing vehicles. We had wraps done on them. I used seizure funds to pay for the cost, so it wasn't taxpayer money issues. And so we added push bumpers to the cars and did the wraps to get the designs, and everybody's very happy with it.
Okay, good. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
Everyone's real happy with it. So I know y'all debuted it at the last town hall
In
meeting that
February.
we had.
Right.
So that town hall kind of came about because there was just it was a moment for it. There was some
Yeah.
conversations happening online, social media, and I feel like you maybe wanted to get ahead of some of that stuff. Is having a town hall something that you're interested in doing more often, or just when it makes sense to do them?
No.
Okay, got it.
No. Just to be honest and to
Yeah.
blunt about it, I have done town halls before. I'm not saying there's not a place for them, but through our PIO, we push out social media posts, we push out crime reports, we push out public
Yeah.
service announcements. We do these things regularly.
You do.
To go through that. And the only time that I would say it's really necessary to do a town hall is if we have some significant issues that we have to address, and I feel like it's necessary to push that out. I mean, we had, I don't know, close to probably 150 people that showed up that night.
Right.
But even with that, there was a lot of people, obviously, that didn't make it.
Sure.
And so we put the presentation, the PowerPoint, online so that they would have access to it. But it's, getting in the habit of doing town halls is, I don't want to say, crying wolf kind of thing, but it's, you may have a drive for it at first, but after a while it kind of falls on deaf ears.
And I think you guys do a good job of that, which is why I mentioned all of the avenues of how you guys do communicate. And, you take phone calls, if people want to reach out. I know that you're very hands-on, and obviously the department is there.
Yeah, and we're, we staff-wise, we've, like I said, should have all positions filled in July.
Great.
One of the things that had come up early on, even before I was chief, there were a number of times that I was questioned in front of the old chief with council members asking, do we have enough people? And I told them, I said, look, after I'm sworn in and after it's appropriate, we'll do a staffing study to determine what that looks like. And so at the time, the previous chief felt like that staffing was adequate based off of a study through IACP, International Association of Chiefs of Police. And he was really, the focus really was on patrol. It wasn't on much more than that. And the numbers at that time said they needed 20 officers on patrol. Well, he took that to look at it from the perspective including supervisors, which it doesn't. I did a study in February 25 through ICMA, and based off of the number of calls for service, the amount of availability time that we want our officers to have to be proactive, and all of those factors taken into play, it said that our officer count instead of 28 should be 42. And so as you start to look at that, because what it is that it identifies the numbers for patrol, and it did identify 20, but that doesn't include supervisors. So you have 20 officers on patrol, you have another 4 to 5 supervisors, and then that's 60% of the department. The other 40% is made up of the rest of the officers that need to be there.
Right.
So the remaining of that 42 is what staffs the rest of the department. And so those are the things that we strategically have planned over the next 5-6 years to try to address.
That's great.
And so it will mean if we were fully staffed with 42, that we would have 20 officers on patrol with 4 supervisors, it's 24. We would have a total of 5 in criminal investigations, which is a sergeant and 4. We would have a separate unit that what we would call special operations unit of a sergeant and 3 that would be traffic related. So they would be geared around traffic enforcement, working traffic accidents. They work a little bit different schedule. And they would also handle things like drone operations and things of that nature. And then we would have a couple of officers assigned to training, which would be responsible for handling all the department's training, scheduling officers for out-of-town schools, scheduling training for in-house, and being responsible for maintaining all of the paperwork that goes with it. And then lastly, we would add an additional person with Katie so that we would have 2 community outreach people.
Great.
The purpose of that is that when I would like to start doing 2 CPAs a year with the Teen Academy, plus dealing with an alumni association and potentially a volunteers in policing program. And so on top of everything else that she's doing, it's just not feasible for us to be able to handle the rest of the stuff that we're dealing with. So, I mean, those are plans moving forward, and hopefully over the next 5 to 6 years,
Great.
we can accommodate that.
I think y'all will.
Well, we'll see.
You've already done so much just in the short amount of time you've been here. So.
Yeah, it's just I'm just wired that way. I mean, it's one of those things that we want to do to be the best that we can be in providing services, not only to the community, but for me to my officers as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
My goodness. I still can't believe
Thanks
I
for the invite.
have the chief of police in my home, and appreciate your time.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.